Welcome to Rising Tide Startups, where today's most exciting solopreneurs share their startup stories. They also deliver tangible strategies that they would implement personally if starting their business over today. Each episode is a startup masterclass. Make sure you take notes. Take it away, Kevin.
This is Kevin Pruitt with another episode of Rising Tide Startups, and my friend Franziska Iseli is with me today. Franziska, thanks for joining us on Rising Tide.
It's my pleasure. I'm so happy to be talking to you again for the second time.
Absolutely. We actually did another podcast in a completely different kind of area. But yeah, I told her, I said, when we did the first one, I said, I've got to have you on Rising Tide because I just want to hear your business startup stories. But before we get started, just can you tell our audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, just probably, in a very short sort of synopsis, I am a Swiss Australian, hence my very big accent. So I grew up in Switzerland, lived there for 23 years, lived in Costa Rica also during that time, and then moved to Sydney, Australia on a scholarship with my university in Geneva, and then just loved it here and got stuck on the beaches. As Kevin knows, he loves my view. I do too, actually. I live right on the beach here. And started working here in advertising first, and then 2010 left that career and started my own business called Basic Bananas. At the end of 2009, actually, I started that company, and it's a marketing education organization. And then from there, also started a branding agency and a swimwear surf suit label called Ocean Lovers. So basically it started with me starting out in marketing because that was my knowledge in branding. And then from there, built a team to help obviously with running these businesses. I could never do what I'm doing without my team. They are doing all the work basically, and they are amazing. So that's basically how I ended up here now in Sydney. I love it. I do miss going home to Switzerland. I used to go home a lot. I haven't been home in 2 years because of the pandemic, but I'm going back at least in the next few months.
Well, I love that story. Did you actually say you started Basic Bananas in 2009?
Yeah, end of 2009 with my business partner, and we still work together.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is amazing. So yeah. Walk us through that process. So you're sitting in your job and into 2008, starting in 2009, whatever, and you're thinking, one day I'm just going to walk out. I'm going to end my job on Friday, and on Monday I'm going to be starting my own business. Was it virtually in the same space?
Yeah, I actually, so always I did university, and then as a Swiss, you normally in Switzerland, the sort of thing that you're indoctrinated with is that you get a job and then you climb your career ladder. You know the TikTok sensation back then.
Yeah, that's right.
you have to work hard. You have to climb the career ladder and accept promotions, and that was sort of what I've been brought up with. And I always knew that I don't like this thing of having someone tell me what to do. It's just I don't deal really well with authority. Even in school, I didn't do super well with teachers telling me what to do, but I sort of, I knew a little bit how to wrap them around my finger too. So I knew I needed to do something on my own. I didn't know what it was just yet. So started working in advertising and did strategy work for larger organizations. And then I realized that in the area where I live here in Sydney, there are a lot of small businesses, a lot of startups, small businesses, and they don't have the money to work with agencies like I used to work in. So I decided to do something for them. I knew that with the knowledge that I had, this is important for them to know at a much smaller budget. So that's how I started. But how I took the leap is I sort of, started working on it a little bit in the background on the weekends, in the evenings. And then how I took the leap is I actually got married in 2010. And I asked for leave for a few more weeks than normal because my whole family, I had, I think, 25 people coming over from Switzerland, and I wanted to spend time with them. And it got denied. So I couldn't, I think they only allowed me to take, which in America is a lot, but they only allowed me to take 2 weeks, I think. And I wanted to take at least a month.
Right.
And then I thought, you know what? I'm leaving. This is the perfect time to take the leap. And so I quit my career and took a month off to spend time with my family and started Basic Bananas with my co-founder.
That's amazing. And so you said did you start working a little bit on the side before you I mean, was it was there a conflict of interest there? Were you working with different
No.
clients, or what
Yeah.
was?
Yeah, so I was working with small businesses, and in my agency, I was working with larger corporations. So there wasn't a conflict of interest.
Right.
But I remember that time very well. I was working all the time. So I was working in my day job, and advertising, you work quite long hours. So I was in the city a lot and working early to late, and then either after I came home or always on the weekends, always working on this new business, sort of in a little bit in the background. When I left the corporate job, I didn't have enough clients to make a living. So my business was too small to actually survive on it. And so we just had a little bit of savings, and very small, not much. We had sort of probably 6 months or so to make it, and we didn't go out for dinners. We hardly did anything social anymore because we needed to put every cent we had into the business.
Yeah.
And it took about 6 months or so of real hustle, of working hard, trying the sort of proving the concept, working a lot for free too in the beginning to just prove that we know what we're doing, and took about 6 months to actually gain enough traction to be able to live. And then from there it took off. It really took persistence and consistency and belief that this is something people need and want, and something that we can deliver.
So there's this expression that talks about burning the boats, so have you heard that expression? It's like when you take that leap, when you go all in, it's like, you're landing the boats, you're burning the boats, so you can't return, so it's like, I'm all in.
I'm pretty sure here it's called burning the bridges, maybe.
Right. Yeah. It's a little different context, but like burning bridges means like you're kind of breaking down like any relationship you might have with the previous past. But this is like, I'm all in. I don't have a plan B. I don't have any golden parachute to take me out of this. I'm all in. So did you ever have in the back of your mind, hey, if this doesn't work out, I can go back and get a job?
Absolutely. That was my plan B, actually. And as you say, I didn't burn bridges, but I did burn boats. I did go all in, and I just thought, if I do this, I'm doing it all in, and I'm giving it everything. And then I know that if it didn't work, it's okay, because I was still young enough also to get a job, and it wouldn't have been too hard also to get a job again. So that was my backup plan, is let's go all in for 6 months, 10 months, maybe. If it doesn't work, if we don't gain traction, I'm going to have to get a job again. Now, after, 11 years of running my own businesses, I would struggle to work in a job. I would really struggle. And I hope, I will never I don't think, I would have to do that. But back then I had no idea how to run a business. I knew how to do marketing, I knew how to do branding. So I was confident there. I had no idea how to run a business. And here's a funny, quick story for, this might be a little lesson for listeners too, is I had a business mentor back then because I didn't know how to run a business. And so I hired someone, and she's great, a woman who runs lots of businesses. And the first thing she said is that I can't call this business Basic Bananas. So she said, that's a really silly idea. And I said, well, Sharon, I will listen to some of your advice, especially, business related advice, how to run a business, but not when it comes to branding and naming, because that's my background. And so I stuck to my guns, and we called it Basic Bananas, and it was one of the best ideas because people remember the name, and it represents us. Who we are and how we show up and how our team shows up. So sometimes this is a little lesson, sometimes you don't need to listen to every single thing that people tell you to do or not to do. You just need to listen to your own intuition a little bit more too.
So every good brand, person, every good marketer can tell exactly why that was a good name. So why it wasn't just that it fit your personality. What were the two words? How did they fit together? Was it alliteration? Was it like, it's like two words that don't mean anything together, but yet there's a message behind it. What was your thought process as you're whiteboarding these, various options of names?
Yeah, there's definitely a meaning behind. So we just came up with different names that we thought would be playful. Because the name that the mentor suggested is Marketing Institute Australia, and we knew that that's not who we are.
I'm out of here. That's right.
No, it's just not who we are. And also, and also it's not. It won't attract the people we wanted to attract. The people we wanted to attract, and this is marketing again, are people that are open-minded and and want to do things differently. And so we needed something that would attract those people. And maybe people that are a bit more conservative, they won't come with a name like Basic Bananas. So then Basic Bananas, it's very memorable and it's catchy, but also basic because our proposition is that we make marketing simple, understandable, and bananas because banana trees grow really fast. And also bananas apparently have some ingredient that makes you happy. Now, the funny thing about this is that I don't actually love bananas very much. I hardly eat bananas. I don't mind them in a smoothie, but I don't really like bananas that much. But my business is called Basic Bananas. And a lot of our clients, members, we have a very big following now. They often send us pictures of random banana things, you know, them wearing a banana suit or some random banana joke, because when they see bananas, often they're like, oh, Basic Bananas. So it's a very clever way to market their business.
There is no question. So I've been doing this podcast for probably 3.5 years. And I've had numerous guests and numerous contacts within companies, you know, to set interviews up and whatever. There is no doubt that your company was the easiest to remember of 3.5 years of trying to remember email addresses and things like that. So absolutely, it was memorable. And I want to circle back and really drill down kind of in really the business strategy and model of Basic Bananas. But I'm really curious. One thing that you said was, you know, we wanted to do marketing. We started out maybe doing it for free to really show people that this would work. And so when I think of marketing, I think, you know, of advertising, I think of almost sponsorships, I think of return on investment, all those things that a business needs to have. But it's really difficult to, in my experience, it's really difficult to produce a return on investment in such a kind of a unique space. So what other things do you sell other than just ROI? Like when you talk to a company about what your company can provide, the services it can provide, what are your other selling points outside of just, we're going to 3x your ad spend here?
Yeah, and we actually don't even do that. So our business model is very different, and I have not seen another organization like ours. My belief has always been that a business owner must understand marketing strategy. That was always my belief, because they will go to different agencies and the agency will say, I can 3x your return on investment on these ads. And then they spend a lot of money on these ad campaigns, nothing happens. And that is because the business owner doesn't understand strategy. They just throw different things and money at different people that don't know the business as much as they do. So our belief has always been that as a business owner, you must understand strategy so you can then pull the right people in to maybe implement some of this strategy. So how we operate is we actually teach business owners how to do marketing. So we give them the learnings, we give them the frameworks. It's almost like an MBA, but only focused on marketing and branding. And they come to us for a year. Usually it's a year-long program. And every month we are together in a virtual setting right now because of COVID, where we go through different strategies that they can implement. So the curriculum is very wide. From the beginning, we first set up their entire strategy in terms of more big picture vision for the year ahead. And then in the 12 months, we go through different strategies, online and offline combined. So that could be direct mail campaigns, social media campaigns, how to get publicity, how to write campaigns from a very strategic viewpoint. And that's sort of how we work. And so the differentiation is always that they come to us because they don't have clarity. They're just like doing a bit of random stuff, this and that. Maybe they're not very happy with how it's going. And they come to us for clarity and strategy. And then some of them, if they're really small businesses, which a lot of them are, they have a small budget. So they implement the campaigns themselves. If they have a little bit more money or team, they will get one of their team members to implement what they learn.
So that is really interesting. But to me, that would be hard to I guess you educate the clients beforehand. So, you know, it makes perfect sense to go and say, we'll 3x your ad spend, you know, or that'll be the ROI. But if you came to me and said, oh, by the way, I'm going to give you a 12-month program, a marketing MBA, so you'll be better at the end of it. That would be hard as a business owner for me to get my head around that. So is there a learning curve? You have to educate business owners on the value of this as well?
Yeah, the way that I think people get it, business owners get it, is we always first run sessions every month, so twice or once or twice a month in different time zones. We run a 2-hour session where we take people through a 1-page marketing plan. So that's a very specific thing that they often come to us for. And we run different campaigns on that. Obviously, we walk the talk, so we have different avenues out there for people to see that session. It's a virtual session, so they always come to that first, or usually, unless they're referred to by other members, so they come directly, and then they come to this 2-hour session, and we take them through a 1-page marketing plan. I've got my newborn here in the background, so there's a little bit of noise going on.
I love the ambiance. There you go.
That's great. She seems pretty happy at the moment. Just listening in. So she's learning early. So we take them through the 1-page marketing plan, and then in those 2 hours, they see how we operate, they see our flavor and how we work, and how they could maybe use a little bit more guidance. And then from there, they can apply to be in the mastermind. So that's usually how we operate.
Yeah, you can grab her if you need to.
Come here. Hey, you little monkey. There you go. Now
the viewers on YouTube are going to get an extra bonus.
There you go.
I encourage people to, oh, she's so cute. So is that a like a monthly webinar that you do, or is that an on-site 2-hour?
Yeah, the 2-hour used to be face-to-face. We used to, actually before COVID, we used to run in every city around Australia, West Coast US, so Seattle, San Francisco, San Diego, LA, Switzerland, New Zealand, and Canada. And then because of COVID, we had to stop all the face-to-face, and now we're running everything from our offices here in Sydney. So at the moment, it might change again as the world opens up again for us, but at the moment, it's a 2-hour virtual session that we run here from our studio in Sydney.
So were you traveling that often?
Yeah, I was, and my business partner also, but then also in the countries, we also had mentors that would run the sessions for us.
Okay.
So,
all right.
Yeah, so we had a partner in Canada, we had 2 people in the US and someone in Switzerland too. But in Australia, we traveled a lot. So we did, it's definitely, it's been quite nice actually to stay a little bit on the beach here and not be on a plane every week.
So are any of your clients online or virtual only?
Some of them are. We have a mixture. So just this week, I had all the groups that are in the Clever Bunch program. They're at different stages, different months. And I had a range of people. We have a new cohort that just started, and I have a Mexican restaurant in Texas, Houston, and another Mexican tacos place here in Sydney. I have a e-commerce business. I have a fashion business, a circular economy fashion business, PR agency, flower essence, plumber, all sorts of different people that come together. It's actually really lovely because you have all these different people with different businesses that come together to learn together. And just yesterday I had the session, a brand strategy session with one of the groups, session 2. And it was really lovely to see there was the Mexican restaurant in Texas and then one in Sydney in the same group. And they just shared ideas the entire time. It was so great to see how much they cared for each other and support their peers. Yeah, it was really great.
That is amazing. So you hear people that have like startups, especially primarily online, maybe more than face to face, but they say it's difficult to do early, but niche down. Try to narrow your focus and stay within like one vertical and really clearly identify who your ideal client is. And it sounds like to me that yours was much more broad when you first started, and some maybe out of necessity. You're saying we were just looking for clients.
You know what? Not so much, because I agree with that sentiment. I think most successful businesses, you are super focused and you stay in your lane and you're very clear on who you want to work with and what your offering is. And it's only, you don't want to have too much on offer because it can dilute your message. And so for us, actually, when I came from advertising, it would have been almost easier and faster to consult with larger corporations, because that's where people knew me from, working with larger corporations. So I had connections there, but I didn't want to work with corporations because it just wasn't my flavor. It takes too long to get anything done.
Right.
So we decided that our niche is only small businesses. So people that turn over from 200K a year, or even some startups, up to, let's say, 5 to 10 million. So small businesses. And so that was our focus, and in any industry. But the offering that we have is very niched. Again, it's one key program, the Clever Bunch program. And then after they graduate, they can go into the next level, Genius Bunch. But it's very focused. We actually, at one stage in the beginning, we almost had too many offers. We had the Clever Bunch program, and then we had a social media program, and then we had a different partnership program, and it diluted the message. So we got rid of everything and only kept the key program that we know people can get the most value from.
So I love that, because it's even the brand name. You're sticking with like a bunch of bananas. So it's like
exactly.
The names of your programs, you're even right in line with the brand name. But
absolutely,
flavor,
we have to walk the talk.
That's exactly no doubt about it. So I'm curious on the model. So it sounds like to me that you bring people in, they go through like the first 12-month program. There may be a secondary, like a graduate program, so to speak, that they go through. But is there any like continued connection with them? Is there any, recurring lifetime revenue program cohort, special Facebook page, anything that they can stay with it like indefinitely? Or are there any services you provide on an ongoing basis?
Yeah, so a lot of people will graduate and then go into the Genius Bunch because they want to keep learning from us. And that's usually a quarterly session. And it's always run either by myself or my co-founders, so they get us, which they love. And then also they can stay in a Facebook group. So we have a Facebook group that is just for members, and they can stay in there for life and without paying anything. So we have quite a nice community, because what that also means is that they stay connected with each other. Right. And they often refer other people because they remember, Basic Bananas, and they will tell their friends to join the community. So we have the Genius Bunch, and then we also have an agency, a branding agency. So which is a separate brand, but we all sit in the same office and semi-virtually. And a lot of our members will come to the agency to get a rebrand, or get a brand strategy, or get a new website, or get a culture book. We're doing a lot of culture books at the moment.
I saw a video you did on that.
Yeah. People love those at the moment, because I think at the moment, as we're working differently and working from home, people need a little bit more coherence when it comes to their culture. Yeah, so we're doing a lot of that. So a lot of our Basic Bananas people will come back, and then they will often work with the agency also. Yeah,
absolutely, for sure. So how much time do you spend like in a given week in each of those businesses? Is it like half and half, or are you focusing really in one over the other?
Yeah, I used to focus a lot more on Basic Bananas, but now, because of all the culture work that we're doing, I'm really passionate about it, and I love to work with these companies to help them with their culture. And so I'm probably now doing, it used to be maybe 80-20, and one of my best friends runs the agency, Julia. She comes from an advertising background too, another Swiss Aussie. She's been running the agency for years, many years.
I see a theme going here.
Yeah,
the Swiss Aussie connection.
Yeah, Swiss Aussies everywhere. And so now I probably do 50-50 at the moment.
Yeah, it's amazing. In our other podcast, and maybe off camera, we were joking around. I asked her how many languages she actually spoke, and the number 5 sticks in my mind. Is that pretty close?
Yeah, five like properly. And then I also studied Russian and Arabic when I was at university, but I don't count them because I wouldn't be able to have a conversation.
I actually tried her the other day. I used all my French words that I know in one sentence, and she immediately embarrassed me in that. So
you did really well, actually.
I backed up and said, let's go back to my native tongue here. So, and what's even bad is that she probably knows that better than I do. So yeah, it is amazing. So for sure. But I really love the unique approach to your agency, and how you've really focused on a couple of programs, and you really clear in who you are trying to reach, the SME from 200,000 to 2 to 5 million or whatever in that space. But if you had to, or if you could go back to say 2009 and you've seen the journey for the last 12, 13 years, whatever that is, what's one or two things that really stick out that you would think, what, I really wish that I knew that. What I know today, I wish I knew that back then. It would have saved me so much time and effort and heartache or whatever.
Yeah, I probably have two key things, and they're both a bit controversial. One is spend more money. So we were very frugal in the beginning, and the reason why I'm saying it's controversial, because it's also really bad advice. But for us personally, we were quite frugal. We only spent very little on paid advertising. We hustled a lot with our time. So we did a lot of, there are advertising marketing strategies you can do that are free, but that cost you time. Yep. And then there are the ones that you pay, but they cost you a bit less time.
Right.
And what I would do differently is I would actually just spend a bit more money on the advertising that costs money, because you just scale faster. So that's a bit controversial, but that's something that I would have done, is put a bit more money in so that we can scale faster. And secondly is let go of people, which I'm really bad at. So over the years, of course, we've got an amazing team now, but we've hired people and we've had to let people go. And every time that I've hired someone that after a while we sort of knew that they weren't a great fit, I really struggled to let them go. I remember one guy I hired, Omar, and he's such a lovely guy. He was a lovely, lovely guy. And he just struggled in the role. He wasn't good for his role. He was great, but he just wasn't the right role for him.
Right.
And I cried when I told him that he needed to go. So, but every time that we make that decision, that someone who isn't the right fit and you let them go, it's better for the company, and it's also better for them, because they will find somewhere to go that is more suitable for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So basically let people go faster for their own sake, and also for your company, to keep your company safe. So I would say those two things.
Have you heard the expression that says hire slow and fire fast? The whole adage. But are there, what about education? What about taking on a business coach? What about, what are some, maybe some things that you might have done later that if you would have done them earlier, they may have had a better return, earlier?
Yeah.
I mean, when did you take on it? You have a business coach or kind of a mentor?
Not now, no. I in the past, so I had a coach, sort of mentor in the very beginning. That was great. And then over the years, to be honest, I learn a lot from books. So I definitely think hiring the right people for the right areas is great. So if you need help with sales, get a salesperson. If you need help with marketing, get a marketing person. If you need help with relationships, get a relationship person. So I definitely think having very, very specialized people is a great idea. Nowadays, if I met someone that I thought, oh my God, they are walking the talk and they are doing what I want to do, I would hire them. So I would do that at the moment. And for the last few years, I just read a lot of books. And actually one of my biggest mentors is Richard Branson, just reading his books. And I went to his island and he wrote the foreword for one of my books. He is one of my biggest mentors without him properly knowing. I did tell him a little bit when I saw him on his island, but he's been one of my mentors without him even knowing that he's my mentor, just by reading his books and watching him a little bit from afar.
When you said I went to his island, what was that, a program? Was that a teaching program? What prompted you to go to his island?
It was amazing. So it was one of my friends ran a summit there, a week with fellow entrepreneurs, and it was a tech challenge. So they basically got different people to come, and some of the businesses were pitching their tech, and then we were, judging them and helping them. And so that was 2 or 3 years ago. One of my friends said, "Hey, do you want to come?" And it's very far from.
You said, "Of course I want to come."
Yeah, of course I wanted to go, but also it's really far from Australia. It's 4 flights and a million hours.
Wow.
And I was already, on a lot of planes. So at first I thought, I do want to go, but I kind of don't want to be on a million planes again. But it was also at the same time when I had my third book coming out, and the only person I wanted for the foreword was Richard Branson. So I knew that for him to ever consider writing a foreword, I had to ask him in person. So I said yes. I went and I asked him in person, and he didn't say yes in the beginning. He just said maybe, and then eventually he did write it.
Wow. That is great. I want the names of the books so we can make sure that they're added to the show notes. And I know you have your hands full. I could ask you questions all day, but as we wrap up today, Franziska, what's one thing that we haven't touched on you think would maybe be helpful to people that are kind of just getting started, maybe in the marketing space, really to help them move forward?
And apologies, I think my little baby girl is really hungry now. So I would say to finish up, the last thing I'm going to say, sorry, I'm coming, baby girl. The last thing I would say is focus on giving and not getting. So
that's such a good word.
Always focus on giving first, and don't worry too much about getting, because I feel like when your focus is on giving, the getting just comes. It's always been like that in every business that I've run. Is don't focus and don't be desperate about the getting. Be super focused and determined on giving, and the rest will take care of itself.
What a way to wrap us up. I'm going to let you take care of your baby, but it's such a pleasure to reconnect with you again, and just thank you for taking the time and just really helping all boats rise in a rising tide. Franziska, have a great day.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Another episode in the books. We hope you heard some great takeaways. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on iTunes and YouTube. As always, thanks for listening to Rising Tide.